And today the video is dedicated to the dispute of two points of view. One point of view is a powerful conglomerate of people who are very confident in their position, because they are the absolute majority at the moment, and this is a group of people who have official science on their side. They are sure that the Earth is a ball. Attention, not round, but a ball or a geoid. If you say round, then you are referring specifically to the supporters of a flat Earth, because a circle is a part of a plane lying inside a circle. So, the second supporters, there are much fewer of them, are people who believe that the Earth is a disk. And as for my position, as a true agnostic, I'm not sure what kind of land there is, but there are certain riddles for me. And not only for me, for a lot of just people, for a million people, so let's call even questions that have no answer. And today I'm going to try, let's say, to debunk the confidence of people, most of whom believe that the Earth is a ball. Well, right away I understand that now they will begin, so let's call it the burning of the rear points, but there is nothing wrong with that. Right? Share your opinion. We must respect any point of view. Any point of view, I think so. In short, according to the views of flat earthers, the Earth is basically a huge flat disk. Basically, it is worth noting, underline with a marker. The center of the disk is located near the North Pole. There are continents on all sides of it. Then there is the ocean. And all this is surrounded by a huge wall of ice, the so-called Antarctica. I'll give you a map now. The sun and the moon rotate above the Earth, and due to this there is a change of day and night. You can see the maps of Urban Monte, or Urbano Monte, yes, 1587th year. And the map that I noted in the last video, Orlando Ferguson, 1893rd year, which, by the way, was donated to the US Congress. Why the US Congress needs such a map is unclear to me. So, I probably briefly brought you up to date, and supporters of heliocentrism often enter into an argument with people who do not believe in the heliocentric theory. Here is one of the opinions I'm going to partially read to you now. It was taken on one of the many sites, and then, according to tradition, I will express my opinion and present indisputable facts, with which it will be difficult for you to disagree. A very important factor on which the supporters of a flat Earth rely is, by the way, one of many. There are actually 200 or 250 questions there. So, one of them is, why does the airline's passenger flights not pass through Antarctica? Because it is very unprofitable to fly around this cold sixth continent. If you have a globe, you can easily see that this is exactly the case. Of course I have, and so I look, and I don't understand either. Who does not have a globe? I will now provide you with a picture, and you will understand everything. Along this line, how much more kerosene needs to be burned in order to fly around? According to a flat map, everything is fine, but according to the map, let's call it that, the globe is already irrational. Why don't planes fly over Antarctica? The main argument in the dispute is, I quote, there are no direct flights on such routes. At this point, one could shout about a worldwide universal conspiracy, a person, that is, a supporter of the heliocentric system, notes with sarcasm. But the explanation for this is extremely prosaic. There is simply not enough passenger traffic on these routes to justify the availability of regular flights. And then so immediately comes to mind, but really, after all, the main thing in business is money, money, money. And is this really the case? He also wrote that allegedly the Flight Radar 24 program may not fully cover all areas and devices tracking aircraft. Not all planes have special devices, especially so that they are tracked by the radar, Flight Radar 24. And the last one, as he says, there are sightseeing flights to Antarctica, I emphasize, but not through it. But let's figure it out. First of all, we must understand that these are sightseeing flights, as well as scientific ones, we cannot be interested in, because they all follow a laid course. By the way, you can go to Antarctica right now, on an icebreaker, although not everyone can afford it. And secondly, all the same banal paved routes, where a step to the left and right are prohibited. Well, yes, they dropped you off, let's say, on some part of Antarctica. You played football there, I don't know. Jumped into the water once, ate a barbecue or something else you do there, looked at the local inhabitants who are there. Maybe went fishing and that's it. They won't let you take skis there and go somewhere. First of all, it's not because they are worried that you will see something there. First of all, they worry about your health, because you can go somewhere there, it's cold there and die. Here. Is it possible to go on adventures yourself? We immediately wonder. I don't know right now, but I read that now there is a huge queue of people who want to visit this mysterious continent on their own. And apparently, they will never get permission. But his main answer sounded like this, I quote again, this is all a quote so far. There simply is not enough passenger traffic on these routes. Once again, I repeat myself to justify the availability of regular flights. Let's be honest, how many people are there in the world right now who would just like to fly over the South Pole? I'm one of them. And maybe I would have definitely flown if I had found the money. Here I answer I would have found it. But that's not all I wanted to say. I should note that any flight through Antarctica, fingers crossed, was a real event. By the way, whole groups regularly go through the North Pole, but not through the South. It can only be noted 1929th year, when the American polar explorer, pilot Richard Burt, was the first to fly over the South Pole in an airplane. I'll show you the map now, he just flew by. He did not fly through the center, but flew next to it. That is, yes, he flew over the South Pole, but, that is, on the edge of January 8, 1956, an American plane landed at the South Pole. For the first time, and in January 1957. The American scientific station Amusenskot was opened. On the 11th of January, 2005 year, a crew of test pilots from Kiev, under the command of Sergei Torsik, successfully made a unique flight from the South Pole to the coast of Antarctica on a small single-engine Un-3 aircraft. But this is not a flight through it. On the 7th of January, 2007 year, two Mi-8 helicopters of the FSB of Russia with Artur Chelengarov, FSB director Nikolai Patrush, and his deputy Vladimir Pranishev, sorry if I called my name wrong, landed in the center of Antarctica, and that's it. In other words, these people just landed, flew somewhere nearby, but not through the center, that is, not the very center of this South Pole. And this stupid sarcasm, which I quoted to you when answering questions, looks inappropriate. Of course, I didn't quote everything to you, but there with such mockery. Well, what are you, stupid flat-earners? Well, there are just no devices like that, that's all, not everyone is tracked. Dear, I say again, if someone flies there, over the center of Antarctica, it will be an event. And now the evidence. I answer. There is simply not enough passenger traffic on these routes to justify the availability of regular flights. I repeat for the third time, they tell us. I think it's all nonsense and has no solid ground under it. You want proof of proof, don't you? So here you are, airline Norwegian ER Argentina, or Norwegian ER Argentina, sorry, this name is quite complicated. This Argentine division of the European low-cost airline Norwegian announced that it was allowed to open a non-stop flight from Latin America to Australia. You can imagine this information on February 28, 2017 year. Dear friends, now we finally find out the secret of Antarctica. I quote, why did they decide? This route is interesting for 3 reasons. Firstly, this is the first non-stop flight between South America and Australia. Secondly, most of the way will pass over Antarctica, and thirdly, it is a round-the-world flight, that is, for a round-trip flight. The plane will fly around the Earth. Imagine, as the newspaper See West Australia writes, the journey in one direction will take a little more than 15 hours. From Buenos Aires to Australia, the liner will travel southeast towards Cape Town, but will fly much south of South Africa, on the territory of Antarctica. From Perth to Argentina, the plane will also fly to the southeast, circumnavigate Tasman Island and New Zealand, and then to the Pacific Ocean to Antarctica towards South America. But that's great news, you know. Well, listen further. In fact, Perth is not the end point of the route. Having received permission to open a flight to Australia, this airline has already applied for an extension of the flight to Singapore. The stop in Australia will be used for refueling as well as for tourism. Some passengers will be able to travel to Australia. In addition to Norwegian Air Argentina, Chinese, Singaporean, and Australian airlines received the rights to operate a transpolar flight. However, they did not announce plans to launch these flights. In other words, what we know is that one airline has announced to launch these flights, and 3 simply got the right. That is, permission to fly through Antarctica. But what do we see? It's been over 2 years and I don't hear anything. According to research by Airbus and Boeing, Airbus A350 and Boeing 787 and 777 liners can be used on the line. Now there are no civilian planes flying over Antarctica at all, except for those that fly to Antarctica itself. This is an official statement. Let's go back to the Argentines. The airline Norwegian Air Argentina was established in the 17th year. She received the first Boeing 737-800 in January. Her fleet will consist of 70 liners, 50 Boeing 737-800 and 20 Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner. It is assumed that the carrier will launch flights on 155 routes. There is also information in the Creation Project that in the future this airline will fly from the Battle with Airs to Moscow. Well, let's see what's going on there. I go to the official website and where are the flights? It's not clear. Wikipedia doesn't really have anything about her. And purely by chance, I find information in the response. Review Norwegian Arrow Airline 4 flights to South America. Excellent. The advantage is a comfortable cabin, a good entertainment program, good service, price, application, rarely failures. Shortcomings, new rules for carrying hand luggage, but probably they haunt everyone. In other words, Russian airlines have now reduced their dimensions there. So, I fly quite regularly on the route Helsinki-London-Buenos Aires and back. Last year, I flew inside Argentina as their daughter. But since March, the Argentine division has been sold to another airline. In other words, this company, which has publicly stated and most likely recruited some investors, has been sold to another airline. Well, that's it. You can forget about the plans for the flight through the 6th continent. You understand, right? Well, someone will say, well, it seemed inefficient, right? I say again, guys, just like that, some proposals don't come from the ceiling. Probably, people found investors there, found funds, they were given permission, because probably you can't just refuse. You need to do something, well, motivate them with something, right? And what? It's just that through some unknown persons, some large, I probably don't know, financial centers, corporations took it. Outbid it so that they wouldn't fly. And why? The question is why? Don't you give up? Opponents of the heliocentric system are often made fools of. It is attributed to them that allegedly they are all sure that all airline pilots are in collusion. What kind of nonsense is this? One wrote to me here in the comments, well, you fly in airplanes, don't you see that the Earth is a ball? Yes, I fly, I flew 4 times this year, or rather last year. And you know what? And I don't see, dear friend. I do not know how you see there. Maybe I'm some kind of rounded porthole there. Question, and what do you see? Here's who flew on a plane recently, tell me what kind of land. But honestly, not pie. You understand, right? Not pie. But I'll leave it at that. Just here are the facts. How long have there been airlines in the world? How long are there air travel in the world? Well, really for 100 years, but there was no one who wanted to fly across Antarctica. Well, at least one flight. At least an elite one, I do not know what. Well, you should understand yourself. Well, why should you say this? You are adults. Yes, now another piece of information has been received from the comment again, so it's very useful to leave comments. Positive, negative, it doesn't matter. So, one of my friends wrote to me, what are you hovering here for? Like soon Musk will open a company of private flights into space, meaning space tourism. Oopna. Let's think about it. The first tourist was supposed to be an American teacher, Christy Maklev, perhaps incorrectly pronounced, sorry, who died when launching the Challenger shuttle in 1986 year. Here's your first pancake lump. After this incident, the US government passed a law. How do you think it sounds? He forbade non-professionals to fly into space. And then I went. Yes, tourists go to the islands, but who are they? We are asking a question. Do you know them personally? I'm not. So, there were a lot of loud statements about the construction of private spaceships. Let's look at one of the companies. One became bankrupt, and the other in February of the year 2007. Officials, I quote again. On February 21, 2016, officials from Virgin Galaxies and NASA signed a memorandum of understanding to explore opportunities for cooperation. What is a memorandum? It sounds literally like this, from Latin, something to remember. It should be remembered that no one has ever flown over the South Pole. In 1969th year, one of the most authoritative publications for the New York Times published in its magazine the contents of a conversation with one of the NASA employees. The dismissed specialist confided in his friend. The essence of the conversation was that photos are taken on the ground, and most of the full-time employees are specialists in the field of creating graphics. But less than 6 months ago, Richard Branson's Virgin Galaxy company went public. As we can see in the photo, a very happy man. It can be understood because this is the first company and it has made history. Because it became the first commercial company in the world engaged in manned flights whose shares are in open circulation. That is, maybe soon people will really fly. Well, I do not know at what height. There is a stratosphere of 30,000, there are 20,000. I think we will find out the details soon. And what can I say? We will observe, we will observe. But still, this is a subjective point of view, and many people probably want to ask me, so what? Where is your firm position? Yes, but a firm position is certainly good, but it is impossible in the unprovable directly without the help of practical experiments. Visual observation, well, in short, with the help of our 5 senses. So, one rather interesting experiment can serve as a kind of mirror, reflecting my position. Sometimes people casually, unknowingly, put it on. You've probably heard of him. It has been held many times on purpose or accidentally. The essence of the experiment is to prove a plane, well, or a circumferential Earth. One American, contrary to the theory of the Earth's spherical shape, saw the outlines of a 40-story building in the lake. According to the calculator of the visible horizon and the range of visibility of the target, you can quickly calculate. It's on the internet, as if you can easily do it yourself. So, in his video you can see the outlines of a high-rise building, which has 51 floors. It's about 45 kilometers from Mansville to New Orleans. Preliminary calculations say that the lowering of the ground, well, or the rounding of the ground, there is soil, call it what you want, should be 150 meters. The height of a multi-story structure is equal to 200 to 12 meters. It follows from this that no more than 15 floors should have been in the frame, but in reality, there were more than 40 of them. That is why it is possible to conclude that the Earth may not have, I emphasize, exactly such a circle, which is considered to be official. In fact, this is the size of the ball, right? In turn, the theory of a flat Earth also did not find full confirmation, or was not confirmed at all. Because with such a state of affairs, an American would have seen more floors or a skyscraper completely. So what does that say? First of all, this is a dead end for us. Of course, it can be assumed that the water has some properties and did not allow you to see more floors, but I want to emphasize that such a statement sounds doubtful. Well, there is a deep conspiracy theory. First of all, the Earth is spherical, but of a different size, judging by the circumference. The Earth can also represent something similar represented on the Orlando Ferguson map, where it is not round, but somewhat convex. Which, I think, is very doubtful. Or is it all, damn it, a program, and in the matrix of the world, the program does not include what a skyscraper should look like, at a distance of 45 kilometers. Now you understand why I didn't choose one of the sides. And this is not the only similar experiment, and the result is about the same. Let's reflect now. In other words, deep conspiracy theory has gone, and maybe the whole theory, the hypothesis with a flat Earth, has been launched. Precisely so that we are led astray. Well, for example, to hide the true size of the Earth, perhaps on which there is another continent or continents. Now I get into the zone of two lights at once. People who believe that the Earth is a disk, and those who do not doubt the official size. But the third cohort of people, I think there are more of you on my channel, are people who doubt and do not fully believe in the wrong concept. And regardless of what you write and put his likes or dislikes, you are still on my channel. And if you clicked this video, you don't fully understand everything. But isn't it funny to discuss the shape of the Earth in the 21st century? I think it's very wonderful. What is there? Perhaps another continent, where the well-known Aggie aspired to get to. There are rumors that on December 17, 1938, the ship Schwab set off from Hamburg to Antarctica. The main purpose of the Novaya Schwabe expedition was to explore the ice-covered continent and further consolidate these territories, respectively, for Germany. Scouted well. With the help of a seaplane, the Germans flew over a huge territory, took more than 10,000 pictures, and, as they say, discovered the oasis of Schumacher or Schumacher, free of snow and ice. In general, it does not matter. In general, we know that this continent is not easy at all. And in principle, probably everyone will agree with me. But I will not replicate unverified information, but there may be a seventh continent. Do you think this is possible? Or is the Earth flat and covered with a dome? Or Vova, stop driving. We are all in capsules, and tubes and wires are sticking out in our heads, and the whole world is just an illusion of a loaded program. And this concept just confirms the very Mandela effect. Rather, they can explain. This effect is simply a failure of a similar program, that is, our program. After all, it is impossible to explain this with materialistic fundamental science. It doesn't fit. It is impossible to explain this, that many people have different memories of the same events of the past. And maybe Elon Musk is right. He thinks we're living in a game. Virtual realities are created by some advanced civilization. Something like the assumption of the philosopher Nick Bostrom, which he put forward, if I'm not mistaken, in the 2003 year. So, I quote, Elon Musk, the probability that we live, attention, do not live in a computer simulation, is equal to 1 in billions. And therefore, perhaps, Elon just doesn't care what people think there, if he launches his car, his Tesla, not into space. But all the filming was carried out in some special studio. Well, at least, I don't believe that he launched this Tesla. It looks unnatural. Well, returning to the hypothesis of the seventh continent. By the way, the seventh continent. This is the book I started writing, The Seventh Continent, and then I will voice it accordingly. And post it on the channel. I will write and voice it for you. Everything is free, as long as you like it. The new heroes will be connected with my past heroes from the Island book. Who has not watched, please see the link at the bottom of the description. What do you want? Why are you here? Me. Vitya was confused. He couldn't say a word. Someone was even scared for my loving couple Vitya and Lisa, but of course they didn't die. It's all too banal for my work, especially since I believe in immortality, yes. Well, okay, a little advertising of your own composition, I think it's not bad. So they wrote to me, or rather left a comment. Probably, people who read the Bible once. The Earth is a ball in the Bible, because that's what it says there. And what does it say? It's not for nothing that I told you at the beginning that the circle is not a ball, but the literates. I read it especially for you. He is the one who sits above the circle of the earth, and lives on it like a locust in front of him. He spread out the heavens like a thin cloth, and spread them out like a tent for habitation. And a circle is not a ball in any way. The circle of the earth is its boundaries in the form of a circle. God, who sits above this circle, sees everything that happens on earth, just as a person sees flocks from Ronki from above. Yes, you understand, right? That is, a person is compared to their ranch. But that's precisely because modern society treats supporters of a flat earth negatively, considering it complete obscurantism and references to religion. But who said that if a person believes, then it means he is stupid? He's just looking for calm, that's all. And it doesn't matter what he believes in, the main thing is that the person is good. You can believe in religion and the 7 deadly sins. 7 is a term that in orthodoxy calls the main vices underlying many other sins. You can believe in communism, and the day of the 7th of November is the red day of the calendar. Look out your window, everything on the street is red. Flags are flying at the gate, flaming. You see, the music goes where the trams went. All the people, young and old, celebrate freedom. And my red ball flies straight to the sky. Seven seals, 7 bowls of wrath, 7 dwarfs, 7 golden candlesticks, 7 heads of the beast, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 notes, 7 days of the week, 7 winds, 7 pillars of wisdom, 7 mountains, 7 spans in the forehead, 7 Fridays in the week. Rome is built on 7 hills. There are 7 days in a week. Buddha himself was sitting under a fig tree with 7 fruits. The spectrum consists of 7 primary colors. In music, there are 7 tones of notes of the scale. Yes, we often find the number 7 in the Bible, which states that God created everything on earth in 7 days, and then 7 sacraments, 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, 7 ecumenical councils, 7 stars in the crown, 7 wise men in the world, 7 candles in the altar lamp, and 7 in the altar, and 7 circles Ada. Why not actually create 7 continents? Members of the Flat Earth Society explain the daily cycles a little differently, that is, it differs from the official concept. According to their theory, the Sun and the Moon are equally small and rotate in a constant circular orbit around the equator. And day turns to night because they do not shine in all directions, but only downwards, like searchlights. I think it's very rational. So, the movement of the luminaries relative to the horizon is an illusion caused by the refraction of light in the Earth's atmosphere. According to the theory of the Flat Earth Society, the planet's atmosphere has the shape of a hemispherical lens, which provides distortion when light moves to the surface. Physicists answer that such an illusion requires a refractive index greater than that of our atmosphere. In other words, the semispherical atmosphere of a flat Earth should be at least equal to water in density. Sitting on a sofa in a brick cube with windows, it's hard to imagine that perhaps we don't know everything about our land. And even traveling around the world, using routes already laid out in advance, you will learn no more than you will be allowed to. Well, at the end of my video, I want to show you photos, and this is also Antarctica. I do not know if it will surprise you or not. To be honest, it surprised me a little. Of course, I knew that the climate there is not uniform, but so much. The ban on visiting Antarctica for civilians has been extended for another 35 years. And all scientists, polar explorers say that they have been replaced by specialized specialists and special services. So, at least, some conspiracy theorists say. And in these words, I think there is some truth. We are seeing more and more military personnel in Antarctica. Or maybe there, on the 6th continent, there really is an entrance to the new lands, or a passage, and it is strictly guarded now. The mainland is regularly visited by the leader of major powers. We can recall an unusual expedition to Antarctica. The Minister of Defense of New Zealand, by the way, the defense forces of this country are constantly present there. And the minister later, do you know how he characterized the trip? As having opened his eyes to many things. What did he see there? What did he discover there? The unusual trip to Antarctica of former US Secretary of State John Kerry, remember. On November 8, 2016, elections were held in the United States, according to the results of which Donald Trump became president, but John Kerry spent election day in Antarctica. Don't you think that's strange? Why? An unusual journey to Antarctica by astronaut Buzz Aldrin. This is the one who allegedly was one of the first to enter the moon, who in the last years of his life decided to visit Antarctica 86 years. So, by the way, before reaching there, You have probably also heard about the visit of Patriarch Kirill. By the way, spatiality, and this is official news, I'm not inventing anything right now. As part of the study of the properties of the Ross Glacier, American scientists have installed 34 ultra-sensitive seismic sensors under the snow surface. They allowed the polar explorers to track the vibrations of the glacier, study its structure and movement for more than 2 years. When it came time to analyze the collected data, scientists discovered a strange effect. The surface of the snow constantly creates vibrations. They found that near the most massive dunes, the snow cover creates something resembling a rumble or blows to a huge drum. It's strange what's vibrating there. By the way, one of the largest ground-based telescopes in the world is installed at the American Polar Station, Amundsen-Scott. The height of the telescope is 22 meters, and the weight is 280 tons. And there is something to see and why to observe. Is it possible that it is in Antarctica that you can find out the secret of what the Earth really is? Of course. For remember my beginning of the video, and ask yourself the question, why planes do not fly over the 6th continent. And Vladimir was with you. Good luck to everyone. Be free. Bye.